want to preach tonight from Luke chapter 15 and probably give a little different twist than the conventional interpretation. Verse number 11 in Luke chapter 15. A certain man had two sons. The younger of them said unto his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falls to me, and he divided unto them his living. Not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country. There wasted his substance with riotous living. And when he spent all, there arose a mighty famine in that land, and he began to be in want. He went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into the fields to feed swine, and he would fain have filled his belly with the husk that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. When he came to himself, he said, How many hired servants of my father's have bread enough to spare, and I perish with hunger? I'll arise and go to my father, and will say unto him, Father, I've sinned against heaven and before thee. I'm no more worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants. He arose and came to his father, but when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him, had compassion, and ran, and thank God fell on his neck and kissed him. And the son said unto him, Father, I've sinned against heaven and in thy sight, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. But in verse 22, he commanded that the servants would bring forth the best robe, put a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet. They even killed the fatted calf in verse number 23. And he said, Let us eat and be merry about what has just happened. For my son was dead, he's alive again. He was lost and is found. And because somebody that was lost had been found, they began to be merry. I want you to look at that verse 24. I just want to throw this in. It's not my thought. If there's anything that ought to make a church rejoice and be merry, it ought to be when the lost is found. It bothers me to go to these super soul-winning churches and all they preach on soul winning, they have 100 saved and you can't get a holy grunt out of them. Something bad wrong with that. You know that? They ought to be tearing the house down is what they ought to be doing. But the elder son was in the field in verse 25, and he came and drew nigh to the house, and he heard music and dancing. He called his servants and said what these things meant. Verse 27, Thy brothers come, the father killed the calf because he received him safe and sound. According to verse 28, that older brother was angry and would not go in. Therefore the father come out and entreated him. He said, Father, lo, all these years I served thee, neither trespass I at any time against thy commandment. You've never even given me a goat, a kid, that I might be buried with my friends. But as soon as thy son is come, as the thou hast lived with the harlots, thou hast killed for him the fatted calf. Father told him that it was right to do so, because the lost son had come home and was found. I want to preach tonight on the subject, if I can, please. You may do it, but you're not going to do it here. Now, that's a lot more scripture than I usually read when I'm preaching, but you've got to get the setting of the context. Here the Bible declares to us that there was a man that had a home and no doubt had a farm with fields. And we know he had at least two sons, and we don't know how many more sons and daughters besides these two, but we know two of them in particular are mentioned. And the Bible said the younger son came to his father and said, Father, give me the portions of good that falleth to me. Now, I've got a problem with that, Brother Junior, because according to the Old Testament in the book of Proverbs, the inheritance was not to be separated and given to the children until after the death of the father and the mother. He was coming prematurely to get that which he should have inherited later on. Now, why was he coming prematurely and asking the father for his inheritance? It was because him and the father had different philosophies on how the father's house should be run and what direction it should go in. In the context of my scripture, of course, the father's house is a type of the church. And there's only one or two ways the church can go as far as its direction. You can either go old-fashioned, you can go conservative, or you can go liberal and carnal and according to the dictations of the flesh. No doubt in the context of my scripture, the father wanted to keep the house old-fashioned. Isn't it amazing that it was the youngest son that wanted to take the church in another direction? Ladies and gentlemen, we've got to make sure that the church doesn't fit the upcoming generation, but that the generation is willing to fit the church. And the church has got so worldly and the world's got so churchy, if you put them all in a bag and shook them up and poured them out, you couldn't tell which one was going to hell first. And this boy knew that if he went in another direction, he was not going to be able to do it at his father's house. He knew the church that he was going to was not going to accept the new fandangled contemporary direction that he had a desire to take. He knew he was going to have to leave and go somewhere else. Now look up here at me, so help me, I'll throw a songbook at you. I want you to stay. I want you to be in church. There's nothing funny about people leaving the house of God and going somewhere else. But if you think we're going to change the direction of a whole church just to keep you, you've got another thing coming, honey. And you may go in another direction, but you ain't going to do it here. So I preach it tonight with the help of God. You may do it, but you're not going to do it here. And brother, he knew he was going to have to pick up and go somewhere else. Now watch this. This is amazing to me. You know, we could debate on what the younger son wanted to do as far as changing the father's house. But I believe the very things his father confronted him with when he came back was the very things he wanted to change that made him leave in the first place. So when he came back, the father met him with those same issues to let him know, you are welcome back. We rejoice you're back. We're glad you're back. But the same thing that made you leave, we've not changed at all. And if you come back, we want you to know we stand exactly where we stood when you left the first time. Woo! You may do it, but you're not going to do it here. By the grace of God, you're not taking this church in another direction. Bless God, I'd rather see it closed down and make a fish house out of it. Rather put hay up in it, make a warehouse out of it, before it goes liberal and contemporary to fit the new flavor of this younger generation that's coming on. I tell you, brother, listen, they may not appreciate you now, but you stay with the stuff. You stay with God. You keep it old-fashioned. And the Bible said when he came to himself, one of these days, these bunch of dumb idiots, they'll come to themselves, and when they do, they need to know there's an old-fashioned church on the side of the road that never changed. Hallelujah. One day, they'll come to themselves. Now, what was the issues that the father met him with when he returned? Let me show it to you. This ticked the boy off. He was ticked off about it. This is why he left. Let me mention it to you quickly, and I'm done. Number one, I believe the boy left because he disagreed with the way the father's house handled this thing about being saved. He didn't like the father's house being so dogmatic on how people got saved. You say, well, how can you get that out of this text? Because when he came home, the father made a doctrinal statement. He said, this is my son that was lost, and now he's found. Now watch this doctrine. He was dead.